when you have a demand shock, price rises. And that's what we're seeing. But now we're about to have a supply shock. And a supply shock, guaranteed, whether it's 417, 418, people are wishing it's 420. It doesn't really matter what day it is. It's happening. And we're going to go from 900 a day to 450 a day. And at the amount of inflows, that's happening right now, we're buying 3 times the current production. That'll turn to 6 times the current production. But here's the problem. That's only 6 times current production if the miners actually sell. But a couple of the miners actually were buying.
Bitcoin has surged above the $50,000 mark for the first time in more than 2 years, propelled by optimism surrounding potential interest rate cuts later in the year, and recent regulatory approval for U.S. exchange-traded funds linked to its price. The founder and CEO of Morgan Creek Capital, Mark Yusko, has had his say on Bitcoin's trajectory following conflicted investor sentiment. Submit Bitcoin ETF and anticipate it could see new all-time highs by this autumn 2024. Bitcoin spot ETFs in the U.S. hit a new record for weekly cash flow as they wrapped up their first month on the market. Last week, these funds received approximately $1.2 billion in assets. BitMEX research reports that this nearly doubles the $700 million from the week before. Outflows endured by GBTC decreased to about $415 million last week, down from $927 million the week before. According to Yusko, looming on the horizon is a supply shock. With the current investment surge, we're purchasing 3 times more than the current production rate. This figure could soon double, reaching 6 times the current production rate. Excitement grows for Bitcoin's upcoming halving, with less than 10,000 blocks remaining until the event. The latest estimate predicts that the halving will occur in the early hours of April 15th, based on the current block production rate. Once activated, the mining block reward will drop to 3.125 Bitcoin from the current 6.25 Bitcoin rate. When this happens, there will be 19.7 million Bitcoin in circulation, representing 94% of the entire supply. According to Mark Yusko, the cyclical nature of Bitcoin is hard-coded and is not going away. Let's delve into the video to gain further insights. Before we begin, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to stay updated with the latest content.
The 4-year cycle exists because of the halving cycle. And the halving cycle is hard-coded. That is not going away. And the supply, so we had the demand shock. That was what I was saying. We had the demand shock, right? We got the approval of these things, so the average person can now start buying. It's now a 1%, actually 1 to 3% allocation in the Fidelity broad portfolio. So they have a portfolio, they have an ETF that is all their other ETFs allocated based on their strategic view. And they have a 1 to 3% weighting and a 1% position in FBTC. Or is it FBTC or FBIT? I can't remember their ticker.
FBTC. FBTC is Fidelity and IBIT is IBIT.
But the thing is, when you have a demand shock, price rises. And that's what we're seeing. But now we're about to have a supply shock. And that supply shock, guaranteed, whether it's 417, 418, people are wishing it's 420. It doesn't really matter what day it is. It's happening. And we're going to go from 900 a day to 450 a day. And at the amount of inflows, that's happening right now, we're buying 3 times the current production. That'll turn to 6 times the current production. But here's the problem. That's only 6 times current production if the miners actually sell. But a couple of the miners actually were buying. I mean, literally, not only were they not selling to pay their electric bills, they were actually in the market buying. Now, that can't happen forever, but that's just a speculative move, people adding to their treasury because they anticipate this move. And, the other thing that doesn't get enough conversation is this idea of treasuries, right? You have MicroStrategy, clearly the biggest part of his treasury. He's basically turned himself into a Bitcoin bank. But other companies have quietly added to, Morgan Creek has Bitcoin on our balance sheet. Now we're not like Sailor, but we have it. And it's funny, we're doing year-end reviews, and my COO is like, should we be rebalancing, taking some profits? I'm like, no, we suffered through the down. We're definitely not rebalancing here. In fact, I might take my profits this year and roll them in. So anyway, that's happening.
Yeah. Looking ahead, investors are closely monitoring pending applications for ETFs tied to the spot price of Ether, with the SEC expected to deliver final decisions by May. According to Bloomberg intelligence analyst Eric Balchunas, no other ETF over 3 decades and more than 5,000 launches have reached the asset level hit by IBIT and FBTC within a month after launch. The list excludes mutual fund to ETF conversions and GBTC, Balchunas added in an X post, noting that such funds can bring over pre-existing assets. GBTC, for example, had about $28 billion in assets when it converted to an ETF on January 11th. That total has fallen to about $22 billion. Mark Yusko said, "I think what people haven't fully internalized yet is that it's a 2-step process." Now, let's redirect our attention to a video
of the last 5 years. Not the 2 best starts of commodity ETFs, not the 2 best starts of ETFs run by the largest institutions in the world. 2 of the best starts of all ETFs. That's cool. I think what people just haven't internalized is it's this 2-step process, right? Is we had the demand shock, which is this Sailor-esque appetite, but not a one-time. Michael was like a one-time chomp, and then he'd digest, and then he'd chomp, and then he'd digest, kind of like a dinosaur, python. And this is more of, I don't know what the most voracious jungle cat is that, is eating and hunting, not daily, but weekly. This is going to go on for a very long time because of the resistance from the powers that be, right? Everyone who aligns with the Warren clan said, nope, that's not welcome here. Those new ETFs, they're not welcome here. And one by one, over time, that's going to fall, and it's going to increase the amount of capital that's trying to squish through the gate. And again, I don't like this analogy because it's frightening. So we went to the Duke UNC basketball game last Saturday, and the right team won. North Carolina won, and we were coming out, and it's my wife and I and my 13-year-old and his buddy, and everyone goes in at different times, but everyone comes out at the same time, and everyone's coming out, and you're going through, and there's this narrow doorway, and we get through the doorway, and there's this stairway down to the street, and this group of very drunk, very rambunctious guys, of course it was guys, starts running through the crowd. And the kids got caught up in it and started to go down. And you could just see what was about to happen. And nothing bad happened, but it's that when everyone suddenly FOMOs and other people started running, because if they're running, there must be no.
Positive sentiment has returned to crypto after significant outflows from the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF suppressed sentiment over the past month. The crypto market's capitalization has reached its highest level since April 2022, which is $1.97 trillion. This bull run aligns with the start of a Fed easing cycle, and the market maintains a buy-the-dip mentality. What is your outlook for Bitcoin's price trajectory in the near term? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this content helpful, give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to stay updated. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us.